Oh, you there. Have you seen any treasure? I've been looking everywhere. Why don't you come with me? Let's go. It might be over here. All right, welcome. So good to be back with you. Hey, we are in the middle of our series, Jesus Says, which we've been doing most of the summer, and we've got a few more weeks left. Today, we're going to look at this idea of being on a treasure hunt. Have you ever been on one before? I remember doing a whole bunch of like scavenger hunts and things where like there'd be clues and you're looking to find stuff. And the Bible sort of talks about this kind of thing, and it shares a story about it. Most of the time, in stories where you hear about looking for the treasure though, there's always this thing kind of like where X marks the spot. And the trouble we run into with any kind of map or, like a scavenger hunt with a bunch of clues is, what if we get the clues wrong? Or what if we read the map wrong? That could be disastrous, okay? And so where we put the X and we think, oh, we're going right for the treasure, we could end up being way lost and looking at the wrong place. I was supposed to go to McDonald's and I end up at Taco Bell, and I'm supposed to get a Big Mac and I end up with a taco and bringing it back and I lose the game. That'd be terrible. Well, one of the things that Jesus talks about in his story about treasure is that we shouldn't store up treasure on earth. What does that mean? What does Jesus mean when he says don't store up treasure on earth? So first of all, let's explore what treasure is. For us, you or me, treasure could look like toys or basketball shoes or trophies we win from our championships, gymnastics or basketball or whatever. It could be money from our allowance or working a little job or mowing the lawn. It could be video games and like our phone or iPods or anything like that. And Jesus has said that these things eventually will go away. I don't know if you realize that, but toys can get broken, money can get spent, and a brand new version of the video game comes out, and the old one is like, this is so boring, I don't even want to use that anymore. And that's the problem with storing up treasures here on earth, is that those kinds of treasures don't really last all that long. When you get it, like a lot of times I've gotten something I've been saving for forever and ever and ever, and I get it and I've been waiting for it, or my birthday comes and I finally get this thing, and it's like it lasts. Like I'm so excited for like one day, and the next day I'm like already thinking about the next toy or bike or whatever I want to get. And so Jesus is warning us against that. The other thing for me about storing up treasures is when I store up or try to put the X on the treasures on earth, it starts to get a little stressful, because each and every time I'm trying to get a new thing and another new thing and another new thing, and stuff breaks and I have to replace it. And so we can start to worry. I start to worry that I won't have enough, or I won't have enough money to get the new one, or I start to worry about, like being able to provide for myself or my family or things like that. And so you might even have that same kind of worry, but with different things. Maybe you're hungry, you're worried that you might not be able to get Gatorade at the game, or you might be worried that like your grades will not do so good and you'll get in trouble. But God says through all of this that he doesn't really want us to worry. So Jesus says this: store up your treasures in heaven. Well, what does it mean to store up your treasures in heaven, and why shouldn't we store up our treasures here on earth instead? Well, God has great examples for this, and we've been talking about it for the last couple weeks here in Kids Life. So when we give, or we're generous, or we give away things that we actually really like to other people who might need them, or when we pray or talk to God privately or even in groups, when we fast or try to stop doing something or abstain from doing something that is like sort of shifting our head away from God, God rewards us. So when we give, pray, or fast, God rewards us. But his reward doesn't look like what you might think. It's not, you don't get rewarded by getting more stuff. You get rewarded in things that have eternal value. So when you're generous, you can affect someone's life in a positive way, probably for the rest of their life. When you give to someone, when you pray, we are focused on God. And as you know, God lasts forever. So when you do these things, you reorient your life around the things that God cares about the most. When you do these things, when you pray, when you fast, and when you give, you are reorienting your life around the things that God cares about the most. So Jesus said when we focus on these sort of things, our hearts follow in that. It's sometimes we have to kind of fake it till you make it. That's a phrase that around my family we talk about a lot. Sometimes it doesn't feel right to do it, but you have to just keep doing it until it starts to feel comfortable. And we know that we can trust the things that God lays out for us, the challenges He has for us. So when we focus on these things, we can start to experience less stress and less worry. And Jesus reminds us also that, He says that the birds in the sky, the ones that you see flying around all over the place, they don't worry. And so we should be like them. They don't plant farms, they don't worry about food, they don't try to get a job and do all of this stuff. And they're focused more on just being birds and being a part of what God has set on earth for us to be, and letting us be humans, letting them be birds. And another example would be God giving the food the Israelites needed whenever they were in the desert. They were all starting to freak out. They were like, oh no, God, you put us out in this desert and now we're going to starve and we should just go back to being slaves. And then God, because this is how God is, He reminds them that He loves them and He's going to take care of them, and they don't have to worry. By when they woke up, there would be manna, which is kind of crackers or bread, all over the place for them to eat. So here's the challenge for the week. I would challenge you, don't focus on getting more stuff, because as we talked about, it all goes away. Everything is sort of fleeting. Your toys will break and your trophies will crumble, and your new cool clothes, you'll grow out of them, you'll get bigger, and that's all okay. So in fact, this week, let's do something different. Let's give something away to somebody else, knowing that your generosity can make an eternal impact on someone's life. And also, don't worry about tomorrow. God knows what will happen. He's in control, and He knows exactly what you need because He loves you, because you're His son and you're His daughter. Well, great to talk to you. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.